How many college and high school players have we seen compared to LeBron since Braun got drafted 22 years ago? There's been a lot of players that had crazy hype when they got drafted. I think the only one to really approach just how insane LeBron dick riding was is Wemby, to be honest. Maybe Zion too. But there were definitely other players that were also compared to him as a player, which is strange to be honest because his archetype isn't really the most common. A 6'9" forward with nonsensical athleticism who also has an insane basketball IQ and is one of the best passers to ever play the game while also being one of the most dominant scorers ever too. Every time we see a new Braun comparison, they always just seem to be missing at least one or two of the things that make LeBron LeBron though. Ben Simmons had the size and he was very athletic, but he obviously couldn't shoot to save his life and his overall offensive back was very limited in comparison. Banchero has recently been getting Braun comparisons because they're both big as hell while also being excellent playmakers and playing a lot of bully ball. I don't think Banchero can touch LeBron's raw athleticism though. This guy used to literally jump out the gym. Shit was mind-boggling to watch. Y'all get what I'm saying. LeBron is a complete anomaly in terms of everything that makes him as a player. So everybody that's labeled the quote-unquote next LeBron will always feel like they're coming up short as a player. Aside from that though, most of the other next LeBrons were more so based on hype instead of actual similarity to LeBron. OJ Mayo had it slapped on a magazine next to him, and maybe rightfully so, because he was bugging out in high school. I think he averaged like 29 as a freshman against some of the best players in the country. He was pulling crazy crowds. His head was probably gassed as shit. Mayo wasn't really that close to Braun as a player though. He was much more of a straight-up scorer and wasn't anywhere near as versatile of a player, but he was still getting the Braun talks just a few years after Braun made it to the league. Didn't really end up matching the hype much, if we're being real. He was tough for a little while, but there was off-the-court issues, attitude issues. He caught a drug ban too. Shit just didn't work out. Jabari Parker was called the best high school player since Braun. It became like a stamp for every great high school player. Greg Oden got those same labels. So did Andrew Wiggins a little while later. It is expected to be fair. After Jordan, there was the same epidemic where everybody and their mama was the next Jordan apparently. Harold Miner was a bucket in college. I think he was the first person to really get those next Jordan talks. He ended up flopping in the NBA though. He only lasted half a decade. Grant Hill was probably the first big one that actually took off in the league, but his career was derailed by injuries and he never reached the heights he was expected to. There was Jerry Stackhouse, who was athletic enough to be compared to MJ, but wasn't anywhere near the overall player. And at his peak, he could give you 30 a night, but overall his career was a disappointment relative to the next Michael Jordan expectations. There's other names, and then of course there's Kobe, who's pretty much seen as MJ's clone by everybody. The point is, people are always going to be obsessed with the idea of the next coming of an all-time great superstar, but with LeBron, almost everyone mentioned next to him didn't end up being all that, to be honest. There's plenty of different reasons for the different situations. I remember Simmons' first few seasons, he was actually hooping, and some people started talking crazy.
I think he's a jump shot away from being LeBron James Part 2. This brother 6'10", got a nasty handle, great basketball IQ, tremendous passing skills, an elite defender.
Then the injuries started piling up and shit went off the rails. People do a lot of revisionism when it comes to him, but I know what I was watching. The mental illness when it came to shooting anything outside of 10 feet was annoying, but he was not as bad as the jokes about him suggest. Jabari Parker tore his ACL twice in like the first 3 years of his career. He ain't even get a chance, bro. They snatched his knees off rip. By the age of 23, he was already a role player journeyman, and he's been out of the league for like 3 years now. Zion might as well be a part-time hooper, bro. He spent the rest of his time on his couch eating and looking for porn stars. The worst part is, he's one of those hyped prospects that actually turned out to be just as good as expected, but he's still labeled a bust because he can't stay on the court. But he plays for like a week, does a crazy-ass dunk, then we don't hear from him till Kingdom Come. He was averaging 27 as a 20-year-old, shooting 61%, and we don't talk about how insane that is because we busy making gumbo jokes. I'm not excluding myself. I was doing that shit too, I ain't gonna lie. There does seem to be a recurring theme with these quote-unquote LeBron successors, specifically the ones that are believed to have somewhat similar play styles or similar builds to him, and that's all the injuries. Of all the things that make LeBron unique, his durability and sturdiness is probably his most important trait. The guy was bouncing around the court like a jack-in-the-box for 2 decades straight, and he only played less than 75 games twice in Miami and Cleveland. That's just 2 out of 15 years, bruh. He's quite literally just built different. Almost all the other athletic guys that are his size and up constantly get injured because they simply don't have that durability, and all the explosiveness takes a toll because they're also big as hell doing all that nut shit in the air. Zion weighed damn near 300 doing 360 windmills, his knees crying out to the Lord for salvation. Paolo hasn't consistently suffered those same issues yet, at least based on his first 2 seasons. Hopefully the torn oblique that kept him out for 2 months just now was random. I don't think it was any indication that he's going to be injury prone. Obviously there can be external factors for some players like pressure when it comes to those players who are getting LeBron level hype, but overall I think it's a similar sort of thing to what happens in other sports when a player player is too explosive for their size or so athletic that they often end up damaging their body and altering their career. It calls to be a physical freak sometimes. Gareth Bale was an absolute speed monster, and a lot of people think he was just too explosive for his body to handle, and he overdid it sometimes. All that extra strain on his muscles and on his body led to him often missing large chunks of seasons throughout his career, and eventually he was washed by like 30. The whole next LeBron curse really seems to just be big-ass niggas not being sturdy enough, which you can't really blame them for. No dick eating or nothing, but LeBron is really 1 in a billion, bruh. He's one of the few players that we can genuinely say we might literally never see another one again.